All right, hello, and just want to say welcome, everyone. This is actually the first ever live show we did here, and we did it in a tiny room upstairs that fit about 10 people because we wanted it to look full. So we've upgraded to downstairs, and now we got 30 people, so we are super excited. No, all jokes aside, thank you so much for coming out. Also, big thank you to Ventum for paying for the drinks, and the spot for all of us to talk, all of us triathlon nerds to talk about triathlon.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, they got the new Tempest is up here up front. They also have an expo whenever you go and do check-in and stuff like that. So check out the new bike. Obviously, launching a new bike is huge, and especially to do it in this day and age, to get the reception stuff they have, and at the price point, it's really good. So if you're in the market for a new bike, go check them out.
And for those of you that are messing around with gravel, I've been on their GS1 for over a year now. So if you're thinking about getting a gravel bike and you have questions, I will give you honest feedback.
And lastly, we went through the entire pro list, and we sent an email to every single pro athlete and asked them to come to the show. And we had one athlete that volunteered to come on the live stream.
That is me.
And that's Paula. So massive thank you to Paula, who's racing this week. Can't go get a round of applause for her. She will come and talk about all of her competitors and how much she's going to beat them by. Right?
Yeah, I just want to talk about Ventum. That's the only thing I want to talk about.
Exactly.
You're a good sport, Paula. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's get into this show. Paula, you've raced here 3 or 4 times.
I've raced here 5 times. This will be my 6th 70.3 here.
6.
And how many of those have you won?
I've won 2 of them.
Okay.
And second twice, and 4th once.
Oh my gosh. So you've had
I looked up these stats because I was curious.
You were
myself.
ready. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, look, did we just go straight into the women's race then because we have Paula here?
Yeah.
I want to talk about the men's race. I mean, it's really weird for me to talk about the women's race, but I'll answer any questions you have.
Well, let's go through how we think the women's race is going to unfold, and Paula, we won't.
Paula will just sit there and go.
Pretend I'm not here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, look. So I'm sitting next to. I'll spare you, but I mean, you are the favorite for the weekend. I think that we did this in our preview show on Sunday. It's clear that you really made a statement in Oceanside. I thought that you were. When I said this the other day, but you were insanely impressive on that second half of the half marathon. Is that something that you'd really been like? Did you expect that of yourself, or where did you find yourself when you were under pressure, and then how will that ultimately help you? How do you think that'll help you perform on Saturday?
Yeah, good question. Oceanside was interesting because in my mind I envisioned having a lead off the bike, and that's how I really like to race, and I consider the bike my strength. So when I was visualizing that race and kind of making my race plan, I thought I would have a gap off the bike. But when I came off with Lisa and Jackie and several other women and didn't feel great leading onto the run, I thought that it was going to be a stretch to be able to win it. So I think the way that I raced and to be able to come back and catch Jackie and have a bit of fight is a completely different thing for me, because usually I do kind of fade towards the back of the run and I'm relying on that gap off the bike to win a race. So I was proud of that, and it was kind of cool to have a completely different scenario, but one that I could still overcome and perform well at. So, but to be honest, I don't want that to happen here. I don't really want to come off the bike with a gap here, and I think the bike course suits me better in terms of like the hilliness and just my knowledge of it and familiarity with the course. So ideally, in my mind, I'll have a bit of a gap for the run.
And for those of you who are tuning in online or here, I'm sure everyone here is aware, this is the last St. George 70.3 to our knowledge that we are aware of. I know that Ironman will not be having this race next year, which is unfortunate. Super excited to see Paula back racing again. But yeah, let's dive into how we think the race will unfold.
You can start with the swim. I mean, I would believe that Lottie Wilms will be someone that is going to be up towards the front of the swim. Victoria Lopez and Paula and Lydia, similar to probably Oceanside. You guys both swam pretty close together.
Yeah, in Oceanside we swam with Steph Clutterbuck. So
Yeah,
that was
that's right.
nice to have her feet. Those 2 women you just said are really quick in the water.
Yeah.
So if I can get on their feet, I think that would be obviously ideal, but it'll require like a really good start and just having a fast 200 takeout to find them out there. So, but you're right, those are the strongest swimmers, I think, in the field.
Yeah.
And traditionally in this race, I don't know why, but when you look at stats, the swim doesn't break up as much as it usually does in a race. The fast swimmers never really get out and get the gap. I don't know if it's.
And
do you know why? Yeah,
Paula?
why it's like that?
Why that might be?
People that I've talked to in the past sometimes have a hard time breathing here. Like there's something about the altitude or the dryness, or I'm not sure what it is, but I've had several friends like Heather Jackson and Lindsay Corbin that just say they have a hard time getting their breath when they start the swim. So that can cause kind of a panicky feeling, and but just like staying calm, I think, is key if that ends up happening to anyone here who's racing. But yeah, it's cold, it's early, it's I don't know why it wouldn't spread out more than normal, but that's it is a hard swim.
Colder water, I guess, maybe, too.
I mean,
Water's cold, yeah.
I mean, ultimately, when they get on the bike, I would anticipate that Lottie Wilms and Vittoria Lopez will have a gap. They will come out, the two of them. They will apply pressure to the front end of the race.
Yeah.
And it may not be till we get deep into Snow Canyon that all of a sudden we see, I mean, Paula emerge.
I think it'll take till Snow Canyon.
No, I think it'll be in Washington.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, you're talking, it's probably 5-10 miles into the race.
Paula's wanting to go up that hill and look over to see San Holodor left and be leading the race, right?
Yeah, I do not underestimate Vittoria Lopez. I think that she'll keep improving on the TT bike. I did a bike race with her actually last year and was thoroughly impressed with how well she made it through some really tough moments in that race. So I do think that as she spends more and more time on that TT bike, we're going to see her make it deeper and deeper into the bike leg before she does get caught. Not to put any fear in it.
And I don't believe she's raced here before. I will say, and not to scare anyone who's racing for the first time in the amateur field, as a pro athlete here racing for the first time, I would say are at a disadvantage. You can't really run the run course because it's out on a golf course. And two, it's hard to get out there on the bike course, and this bike course is a lot harder than what people think. And I think that we'll get to it in the men's race. If you're not a strong biker, you will struggle on this course. A lot of the athletes that sit in packs, a lot of the good runners that will wheel surf, they will really struggle out here because it is just it's a long, steady up, and there's not a big draft.
And then, Paula, is there anybody else with respect to the bike leg that we're not thinking about, even if it's somebody like Chelsea Sodaro that just stays in range, because she's obviously a great swimmer. She's had fantastic bike legs before. That's somebody, I mean, what will you do racing as far as trying to hear or capture information about what's going on behind you? Or are you racing knowing that you're basically going to be in the dark the whole time?
When I've done this race in the past, I've had Eric and Nick and people out on the course giving gaps to who is behind me. So it is an accessible course for that, to be able to get a little bit of information. But I'm pretty used to racing also without any knowledge and just waiting till transition to find out. Danielle Lewis is racing, who's always charging hard from behind on the bike after usually having a bit of a gap back on the swim. And obviously she's a great runner as well. And it'll be fun to race Chelsea because we haven't seen her race since September last year, and not a 70.3 for quite a long time now.
Long time,
yeah. So she has a new bike, a new coach. She's always, she's one of the best in the world. So you can never count her out. And I think no matter where she comes out of the water, she has the run as her weapon. So she'll be a threat no matter how far back she is at any point.
And what do we expect to see on the run, guys?
I think Paula can probably tell us where she expects to see Jackie on the run.
Jackie's a good friend of mine, but I hope I don't see her at all.
Hopefully a kilometer behind at the first turnaround.
Yeah, Jackie's tough, and she's really fit right now. And I don't know, the run is tough because you run out on the diagonal, and it's a false flat uphill, so it feels like a grind. If you're looking at your watch, it's usually a little slower, but what I try to remember, and for all of you that are racing as well, is the downhills, you can really get a lot of momentum and a little bit of recovery as you're coming down the diagonal. So you are working on the ups, but the flip side of that is you do get a lot of downhill running where you can get into a rhythm and increase your turnover and kind of get ready for the next lap. So I like the course for that reason. It's really dynamic.
I know you said you would like a big gap on the bike. Do you feel comfortable that you could run almost toe-to-toe with the majority of the girls in the start line?
I'm not sure about Chelsea, honestly. I'd like to think I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm going to go really hard on Snow Canyon, so I think I'll have a gap.
Are you going to go for a Strava KOM?
No, I already have that. But
From a race or training ride?
No, in 2021, I was injured running, so I came to the race with Eric, where he had an amazing world champs, but I went after the QOM in Snow Canyon and held like 310 watts and got it by a couple minutes, but I'll never touch that time. Like it is way too hard to go in a real race, but I really want to use that to like put time on people because it is a climb that I know really well. So
And one of the big X factors I think for Saturday is if you look at the forecast, the high is going to be they're saying 93, 94.
Yeah.
What I haven't checked is obviously the heat's going to come in and probably by the time you guys are done, but it's still going to be hot. What's the wind going to be doing when you're on the bike? Have you looked at any preliminary forecasts there?
My coach has looked at the wind, and it looks like it's going to be coming, kind of pushing us from Sand Hollow into town. So, but not a crazy strong wind, especially early in the morning. So I think the heat will be more of a factor, especially as you're climbing Snow Canyon. The sun kind of bakes you in that canyon. It's hot tarmac, and you can kind of get wind and recovery coming down, but it'll be really hot for the run, I'm thinking.
And you did mention their new coach. Give us a little bit of insight into, who that coach is, maybe if you're comfortable with it, and then maybe some different tactics that you two are employing for this race.
Yeah, I have a new coach this year. Her name is Carmen Small. She's actually the sport director for EF cycling women's team. So she's really deep in like the cycling world. She was the US time trial champion for a lot of years. So obviously she's a cycling specific expert, and it's been really interesting going into Oceanside and going into this race, having a really detailed race plan on the bike and where I'm going to put watts in, where I'm going to recover a bit, and just focusing and training on a lot more of the technical aspects of riding versus just like watts. So yeah, that's been fun to know like exactly what to target at different parts of the race and use her knowledge and in cycling to hopefully get the most out of myself, since that's my strongest discipline.
When you hit the top of Snow Canyon, and maybe you could speak to some of the athletes racing this weekend, from that sounds like the wind will be kind of a crosswind as you descend back into town and you hit really high speeds. Do you ever get scared on that descent? Or
Never scared, no.
Never?
No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
No, I'm pretty nervous on it, but it's, you have a whole lane, so you don't have to worry about cars. Yes, the wind's a bit scary, but I think focusing on just like getting your head down, continuing to push power if you have a big enough chain ring, because that's ultimately when your bike is the most stable, is when you're putting power into it. So the worst thing you can do is like sit up and brake or get scared. I'm telling you all this, but I'm also telling myself this because it can get a little nerve-wracking when the wind picks up. But like I said, I don't think it's a crazy windy day on Saturday, so it should be okay. And ultimately, like, use that downhill to recover, because you get 15 minutes of really fast speed, but not super high watts, so you can like get ready for the run.
Finally, I want to touch on the Pro Series dynamic of this race. Who are we not thinking about? And I'll probably first go into somebody like Danielle Lewis that can capture some really great 70.3 points here. But do we think that there'll be anybody else that factors into the race that also gets to do a double dip here and bag some really great Pro Series points?
Jackie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides those two, I mean, you're not focusing on the Pro Series? Maybe. So, I mean, besides those two, they're the only ones that are really threatened.
What about Chelsea? Is she doing it? We don't know.
I mean, she still has to do, I guess,
3 Ironmans.
Yeah.
I don't believe
I don't think
Chelsea's
that's going to be
focus
something.
is, I think it's just Kona this year.
Yeah. So,
And so that begs the question. We've got you here, Paula. Are you thinking about a full Ironman? Where's your head at around that?
Because I'm sure there's also a lot of athletes in here that are doing 70.3s and thinking of doing a full Ironman, but they haven't committed. Maybe you can talk them through what you're thinking about on it too.
Yeah, I've said early in the year that I was going to do like Placid, and at that time I was like, maybe, and I feel like now I need to really decide because it's coming up fast. But I feel a little bit like with the coaching changes that I've made, that filled a little bit of my cup of like, I need something new and I need something different. So my desire to do an Ironman immediately is less than it was in January when I just needed something fresh to focus on. So still undecided, and even if I do Placid, I don't think I would be focusing on the Pro Series because fitting 3 Ironmans in this year would not be best for me and my longevity and body and everything. So, but I'm 100% want to do an Ironman in 2026 regardless of what happens this year. So
And
that would be the plan.
I know you're working on getting your or not visa issues, but things. That's what's hindering you from racing the T100 series.
I'm doing San Francisco T100 in 2 weeks.
And will you
3
do
weeks.
Canada?
Hopefully I'll have the travel thing by then.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my plan though, yeah.
Nice. And will you do the remainder of the series, if so?
Of T100?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
5
Cool.
total.
5 total. Nice. All right, let's get on to the run. And I think this is an interesting one. You can probably speak to it. You've raced on almost every run course here. They've had 3 different run courses.
Yeah, it seems like it's different every year.
Yeah, the 70.3 Worlds was the gnarliest with the insane downhill. I don't know if anyone... let's see a show of hands. If you raced on the 70 point, look at that. Did you enjoy the downhill or not? This course is really unique, and I know that you are also sponsored by On. Since it's on a golf course and it's wavy, and does that go into deciding a shoe, or do you have a go-to shoe? Because I know like a lot of athletes that race Indian Wells versus just a long straight Ironman that's a marathon or on straight road and all that. Does that help you decide a shoe, or are you just stuck on your race shoe?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do switch between the different on-race shoes. The one that doesn't have the laces, the light spray, is my favorite one. But for this race, because of the turns, it's a little less stable on corners. So you're right, I might not wear that for this race. But I like the run a lot because of the hills, but I think it was the hardest when it went up to Red Hills Parkway. So you had that super steep climb, which we're not doing. So like I said, the run has ups, but it also has downs. So it's pretty much rolling the entire time, hey?
So on the run, how much of a gap do you want? Come on, Paula. 5 minutes?
minutes,
She,
yeah.
5
she
minutes?
proved in Oceanside. She doesn't.
She doesn't need the gap.
I can come off the bike with some people where I feel like I can run faster, but there's
Right.
certain people like Chelsea that it would be nice to have 5 minutes.
Sure.
But it's. I mean, you kind of called the shot. I thought you did the Babe Ruth where you said, "I'm going from the bottom of Snow Canyon."
That's where
Try
I'll
and
put a
hang with
big
me.
surge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but every uphill here, I'm gonna go hard.
Every uphill. There's 3
There's a lot of
big
uphills.
ones, right?
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
main ones.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. So the run, as far as, run pedigree, you're talking Chelsea Sodaro, Jackie Herring, Danielle Lewis, Kaidi. Those are probably the 4 or 5 names that you want to throw in that are threats for the run, and yourself. So once you get onto the run, obviously you're hopeful to have a big gap. According to Tri Rating, there's no one that's even in the same zip code on the bike. So it seems everyone else may be racing for second.
An interesting dynamic too is that there's a 10-minute gap between the pro men and the pro women this year, which is
that's
new to
Brad.
us. And in this race, in previous years, I've come up on a lot of pro men, and they've been around. So I think it'll be nice to have a clean race without any interference from the men in front. And it's great that Ironman has the time in this race.
Sorry,
to do that.
repeat that one more time, just for everybody that maybe didn't catch that. What's the difference here?
10 minutes between the men and women.
Wow. And then
Pro
what's the
men
gap
and pro
to,
women.
And it
then
used to be
pro
5.
the age group.
Yeah.
is
And then
10
what's the
minutes.
gap to the age group men behind you?
10
I
minutes
believe
as
it's
well.
10.
So this is really going to be the first time you've had a totally clean race.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Because even
yeah.
in Oceanside, it was 5, and we saw some pro men and we saw some age group men. So with 10, I don't think we will. So it's good, yeah.
I hope you're not catching a lot of professional men that you're starting 10 minutes behind, but
I mean, at that point, she'd be just blowing by him.
yeah. So, all right, how do we think the race is going to shake up? You want to do some podium picks?
Mine are
Do
pretty
you
much.
want me to plug my ears so that you can do this without any?
Oh, no.
I think we've pretty much done it on our podcast, and I think we all picked you for the win. So
I think
no
we should
pressure.
pull the
I
audience.
think it's because you're my friend, though.
Paula may have to turn around if we pull the audience, but
How do we feel? Show of hands. How do we feel about Paula winning the race on Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
There should
I'm
be
gonna say
every
that's
hand but one.
95%. Look, I think the other.
Anyone
the
else?
other- yeah.
Anyone else?
Andrew Lewis, how do you feel about Paula winning the race? What about your wife? There you go.
Good answer. I mean, I think the other ones obviously that we noted were
Jackie.
Jackie Herring, Chelsea Sodaro were kind of we really agreed the other day that it was going to be some combination of that on the podium come Sunday.
Yeah.
Saturday, sorry.
Do we going to say a second, third?
I'm staying with my picks from the pod, so
I'm going to change
Paula,
it up.
Jackie, and Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to go Paula, Chelsea, Jackie.
I'll go Paula, Jackie, Daniela.
So,
Nice.
cool. Move on to the men's race.
Thank you guys for the faith.
There you go. There you go. On to the men's race. I mean, we have a star-studded field. I believe the soft score is around 90, so pretty stacked start list. Magnus Dilev's obviously here. Sam Long, Lionel Sanders, Trevor Foley, Marquardt. Pretty much everyone knows who's going to be doing this race. Starting from the swim, I mean, you're going to have Marquardt probably pushing the pace. You'll have
No, what about Mark Dubrick?
Dubrick's going to push the pace. Seth Ryder's going to be in this race.
Yeah.
Appleton's a good swimmer.
Appo,
Are we missing?
Matt Sharp,
Burt Whistle.
Justin Reale.
Yeah. Do we think that this race is missing a little bit of the swim horsepower that Oceanside had for the men's race?
It's pretty much the same.
Just a smidge, right?
Just a hair, maybe.
I don't know if a lot of people are going to be pushing to swim hard. I think that they know what's ahead of them on the bike. And I think, like I said, that we never traditionally see these gaps balloon pretty big here. So it'll be interesting. And we just recently, a few of us were down at the water with Magnus a little bit ago, and I joked with him that and if you watch UFC, there's a BMF belt that they give out. It has nothing to do with the championship or anything. And I said, Magnus, we should deem the winner of this race the strongest legs in triathlon. You get actually the title because it's Magnus, Sam, Lionel, and Trevor. Yeah. So
The winner of the race or the fastest bike split?
I think you do the fastest bike run combo. Forget the result of the win.
Forget the swim.
Okay.
We
Yeah, we don't care about the swim. That will be the strongest legs.
Duathlon.
You don't use your legs in the water.
But I mean, when is the last time that we saw a 70.3 that was this deep outside of World Championships?
Oceanside are typically this race, I would say, is usually the most stacked.
And Oceanside, we got shortchanged a little bit with the flat, the puncture from Christian Blumenfeld.
Right.
But
Yeah.
ideally, that really this race, I mean, I think we've got a fantastic race on hand. I think the biggest thing, what we saw on Oceanside, that I think we're going to see again on Saturday.
Is a run battle?
Well, the guys that overbiked,
Yeah.
ultimately when Lionel had a 247 deficit to the front group, I didn't appreciate how deep that front group was going on the bike.
Yeah.
And it ultimately cost them on the run.
Yeah.
And so I think somebody like Lionel ultimately had the discipline to ride incredibly well, but stayed within himself and had the capacity to run what did he end up running? I mean, it was a low 69-minute half.
I think it was 109.
Something. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to see some version of that.
Yep.
Mark's not here to argue, but the strength of field score, we argued about it, and he told me I was wrong. But it is 90 here, and in Oceanside it was 87. So it, on paper, is a stronger field. But, I mean, it's going to be a phenomenal race until the race that I will not attempt to pronounce in 2 weeks, next week.
In Aix-Provence?
Yeah.
Paula, what are we not talking about for the men's race? What are we missing?
I think that how this race is different on the swim to bike is that you can really see really far up the road here. So in Oceanside, it's like a out of sight, out of mind kind of course, especially at first. You're getting behind that shopping center, and if you're even 30 seconds up, you can't see people. But here, these huge sprawling roads, that big climb out of Sand Hollow, the guys that are coming from behind will be able to see the leaders. And I think having that carrot and that motivation to bridge the gap is easier with that visual. So I don't know, that could change just the dynamic of the race, maybe coming together a little more on the bike, but they're going to be hammering on every hill. I
Yeah.
would not want to be a guy in this race.
Yeah.
An interesting thing when they come out of the water, of course, you'll have our swim leaders. We'll get back to the race and how we think it's going to unfold. But it'll be interesting to see where someone like Magnus will come out. If he'll come out in a 1 minute down group, a 30-second down group, or if he's going to come out with those leaders. Because I think if he hits the front of the race and he's in control of it the whole time, he could run away with it. If he's having to do a little bit of chasing, it might buy someone like Lionel and Trevor some time to...
Has Magnus raced here before?
Yeah. One.
Yes.
World championship.
World championship.
World
Okay.
champs.
So he
And
knows.
2021, 2022. 2021.
22.
22. That was the battle with Magnus, Lionel, Sam, and
Yeah.
No. That was
Backegard.
No.
that was 21.
That was in 21, and then in 22 when he did it, it was Christian Blumenfeld and Ben Canute that featured heavily in that race.
Yeah.
So it will be, and then I would say Magnus will hit the front and start pushing, and it will be interesting to see where the rest of the field shakes up. As we mentioned earlier, a lot of those guys that surf wheels will really struggle here in this event because there is some long ups, and they don't get the draft advantage they do on a going 30 miles an hour, riding 4 or 5 positions back.
Paula, do you think that we're going to see a group of 15 men that ends up being that front group or second group, or what do you think will happen to that group?
I think it'll splinter as the race goes on. So up Snow Canyon, I think it always breaks up more, but that's really near the end of the race. But the biggest thing, I think, like you guys mentioned earlier, was the effect that has on the run, because I think people will overbike in order to stay with the pack. And when Eric raced here in 2021 at World Championships, he was in the pack, and it really made them. You can go with the momentum, even though it is hilly. There is still an advantage of being with a group. So you might see people maybe pushing beyond a little to stay with it on the ups.
And what do
Suffering
we
later.
think that what kind of input does Justin Reale have into this race this weekend?
I was just about to say that. Will be such an interesting athlete because he does not care where he ends up in the race. He does this for data points, test points, essentially fun. This is a hobby for him. Racing professionally at the front of the field is a hobby. He looks at someone like Magnus and is like, this is a challenge. I just want to ride with him. And I'm gonna do everything I can to just ride with him. And I could see him slingshotting the race forward and even going in front of Magnus and be like, come on, Magnus, get on my wheel, I'll take a pull. And someone like Justin is one of very few people, essentially, that could do that. Almost in the world. There's a few other athletes that could probably do that. But Justin's an athlete who he doesn't really care. He's like, I'm just going to go for it. This is fun. It's fun for me, and I'm going to get a data point and have a blast out there.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Justin wants to use this opportunity to say, I went toe-to-toe with the best.
Yeah.
And he's going to say, I want to go pull for pull with him.
Yep.
And wherever the chips fall, they fall.
Yeah.
Do you
And he
think
got
he'll-
into
do you
San
think
Francisco.
he'll run
so-
faster than the fastest girl, though?
No.
No.
I think he's going to go. He's
Just
going to
the
go.
bike.
He's going to go for broke on the bike.
Yeah.
But what is really cool is for all the data nerds, he will post his power and what he did, and he has these really cool posts that he posts like,
But do
there
you
was
guys?
this surgy area, and this is what you were pushing. And so a lot of other athletes really don't talk about that stuff, and he doesn't care to share it. And it's really cool to see, wow, Magnus surged up Snow Canyon, and this is what it takes to ride on his wheel. It's pretty cool to see.
Totally. But do you think him changing the dynamics of the race on the bike and then not featuring at all in the run is
I would say it
that
just
fair?
I would say it just hurts someone like Lionel or Sam, who's one
Exactly.
in the race.
Then they might win. Yeah.
How many times have you seen the backpack males interfere with the women's race?
The back half males?
Yeah.
Lots of times.
Every time.
Not this time, though. We got a big gap.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Now
So-
we didn't talk about. I don't think we gave Sam Long enough airtime on Sunday in our show.
Yeah. I mean, according to, I keep going back to this, but Thorsten's built out an amazing algorithm and things like that he studies the sport way more than us. And he has Sam Long out riding Magnus by
See,
45
I
seconds.
put so much faith in Thorsten, and then he
45
goes and
seconds.
bombs something out like this, and I'm
No,
like,
this
"Dude,
isn't
what?"
just this is all data. So he's
All
taken
data.
historically Magnus is probably 70.3 times, which I don't know if you guys know this, but Magnus hasn't raced a 70.3 in 3 years.
since this
Really?
was the World
Yeah,
Championship.
this will be his first 70.3. So he's just been doing T100 and Ironman. So I think that we're going to see a new Magnus in this race. I think that he could even grow the lead bigger. I say comes out with a swim. Lionel and Sam come out with a swim deficit. Magnus even grows that lead further on the bike. And then I would say there's probably I would say Sam and Lionel probably catch that front pack. And I would say Magnus is off the front.
So you think that they catch the front pack? Do you think Cam Worf is someone that we should talk about? Like, do you think that he's someone that's like, all right, I'm going to go with Justin and Magnus? Because he's going to be there in the swim.
You know, the interesting point with Cam is that he comes on so late in these races that he accelerates in the back half of them. I don't know. I can't predict where Cam will feature in this. It was just really clear that he was obviously insanely good in Texas. And we talked to him afterwards, and we're like, did you know you were on a good day? And he goes, well, I have been riding really well up to this point. He goes, I wasn't thinking about the record, but he goes, I knew I was on really good bike form. He knows that there aren't a ton of opportunities to race on a course like this, where it's wide open roads. It's a really honest course from start to finish.
Raw power.
This has got a ton of, it's not like Oceanside where there's a lot of tight spots where you've kind of got to just.
Like no pass zones and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or the braking.
Oceanside's messy.
Speed zones.
That's the right word, messy.
Yeah.
And so I think this is one where he's like, okay, well, I don't know. I mean, is the 70.3 bike record, is that something that he could do this weekend? I don't even know what it is.
I can't
Like
remember
the
what
world
it is.
record for the bike. I
like
think this
one-
course has too much climbing
Yeah, sure.
for that.
Yeah.
Of course, right.
But it's still fast. But I don't know.
So,
But Cam will be a bit maybe tired. Who else raced in Texas? Magnus?
Sam Long has the course record here. It's right at 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 57 seconds. And that was a 2024, so last year. Kissing
course
babies
record.
on his way to the finish line.
Yeah.
So
literally.
I think that, for me, the story here is we've got the best long course athlete for the year, Magnus Ditlev, demonstrated he's on insane form. We have arguably Lionel Sanders, who's the greatest 70.3 athlete to ever do it, on insane form.
33 70.3 wins all time.
I think Saturday is going to be a treat for all of us that get to see it and experience it live in person. Because I think that we're going to get to see one of the greatest 70.3 races that we've ever seen.
And let's get to them getting off the bike. Paula, when will you be able to get a glimpse at what's going on in the men's pro race? And do you ever even care? Do you ever try to be like, what's going on while you're racing? Or are you completely zoned out to the finish line?
No, I usually cheer for Lionel as he's going by me the other way. Maybe I should be more focused. But when Eric's racing, I'm definitely interested in what's going on. But I really care. Like, across the line, I'm like, who won the men's race? Who was second? Like, I'm just as invested as you guys are in what goes on in that race. So I wish I could watch it. But, it'll be exciting.
Yeah. So
Should
I
we
would
do picks?
say
Let's do picks.
let's get on the run real quick because there will be some people who feature. Jacob Burtwhistle, who got a 2-minute penalty. It'll be interesting to see where he comes off on the bike because I know he had 2-minute penalty. He would have featured for the podium in Oceanside.
Yep.
And it'll just be interesting to see where his bike is at. Another athlete, the greatest athlete in the world at one given time was Max Newman, who surprised everyone, and we don't know which Max is going to show up this weekend. I mean, he could easily be up there riding with Magnus at the front of this race and then outrun everyone. So there's a lot of people feature. You got
Runners in the field. You got Sam Long, Matt Hansen, Matt McElroy,
Seth Ryder.
Burt Witzel, Seth Ryder, Lionel, Trevor, Ben Hamilton, who was second here last year, Jackson Laundry, who we don't know what form he's on coming back from his injury, Dubrick, who's he's raced really well, and he's also not been featured here. So we'll see. Once you get onto the run, it's going to be what's the gap to Magnus and whoever else is with him, and then probably a group of 10 dudes fighting for the podium.
Yep. Let's do
Let's do picks.
I'm going to go last.
It's going to be some combination of Lionel Sanders, Magnus Ditlev, Jacob Burtwhistle. I spent a ton of time with Jacob Burtwhistle in his formative years. He is a really fantastic bike rider. We saw on Oceanside that he's got some really great potential at this distance. I think this is going to be, everybody's going to be kind of awoken now to what Jake has going on.
Paula?
I'm going to say Lionel for the win and Sam for second. And I'm going to... What?
Okay, keep going. No, keep going. Keep going.
Who do you think I should pick?
No. I'm listening. I'm listening. Sorry.
I like Sam, okay? And I'm going to pick Seth Ryder for third, which is really out there.
Paula, we should have got a
I'm not
different
going to pick
guest.
Magnus, Lionel, Sam.
It's not. It's not about playing favorites. It's about looking at the facts and going, okay, well, who's the most likely to podium?
Well, I think I like the guys that are coming over from ITU and
Seth,
we don't know them.
Seth's
a great athlete.
Seth was amazing in Oceanside. So that's a
Amazing,
great
yeah.
shout.
And he
great
won
shout.
an Olympic medal in Paris.
Yep. No.
So
It's fine.
I think it's a good pick, but
That is true.
there's a lot of good guys.
I really want... I'm going to... Lionel for the win. I'll go Magnus second, and I'm going to go Sam Long third. Oh, I think Sam is fired up. He has a point to prove. He needs that extra distance where he struggles out in T100. He needs that shorter swim, that longer bike, and that longer run,
And he has
that's where he
confidence
thrives.
on this course.
Oh, 100%.
He's got experience on this course. Confidence on
And
this course.
it's so funny is that his saying sticks out so much, yo, yo, yo. It doesn't matter who he runs by. Everyone, the entire run course is yo, yo, and it's just fuel for his fire. It's really, really cool. So
let's
he'll
not
have a
underestimate
lot
that.
of fans out there on race day.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm 100% with you guys. The easy thing to do would be to copy your guys' pick. My boy Trevor Foley, though. He had a tough time in Texas, and he's pretty fired up for this race. He had the fastest bike split here against Sam and Lionel a few years back, if you remember. And he's got family here. He's got a big team racing here. I'm participating. I'm not racing, but it'll be a good day for T Foley Racing. So I'm going to put him on my podium, probably second or third. Magnus first, and Lionel third. So second or third. But it's hard because Sam Long's done this race so many years, and I don't think he's been off the podium since before 2020. So basically in the modern era, he's not been off the
excluding
podium.
that world championship year.
Yeah, that he got the penalty.
Sam doesn't do bad at 70.3s.
Yeah.
And he doesn't
At
do bad
Ironman, he
here.
struggles. 70.3s,
Yeah.
he's always on the podium.
Yeah, he's won here twice. Lionel's won here 3 times. I mean, this race is pretty stacked and unpredictable. So, audience picks.
Yeah,
everyone.
let's get a show of hands. Who do you think Sam Long's going to win? Nice.
We got his sponsor for apparel here, Sean, in the audience. Of
We
course,
got
he's
Sean, we
picking
got
them.
Sean.
Thank
All right,
you, Sean.
what about Magnus? Let's see Magnus' hands. Wow.
Oh
Not a
my
lot.
gosh,
Not a lot.
you're killing me.
If we were in Europe, it would be everyone would have their hands raised.
And then what about for the big dog, Lionel?
What about for
Sanders?
Lionel?
There we go. Look at that.
Oh,
Wow.
that's a lot of
60%, 70%,
All right.
I'd say.
Any other names? Anyone shout any other names?
Max
Newman.
Newman.
Burt
Got
Whistle.
a Burt Whistle and I heard a Max Newman as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
It'll be Pat and I. We always we're on the phone 10 times a day, and we always joke. And we refer to Lionel as the big dog, and we also refer to Magnus as the big dog. And so I told Pat, whoever wins this race will be referred to as the big dog after this race, and we'll have to
I
find a
think
new
it's the
name
big
for the
dog
guy who got
status.
beat. So
Yep, that's
let's
right.
hope Lionel comes out on top.
Should we do some hot takes?
No, I want to. Can we do a few audience questions?
That's the hot takes.
All right, perfect. Right on. What do we have? Let's. We're gonna throw it to the audience now. Give us questions, hot takes. What do you got, Sean? Sean's wondering if the heat's going to play a factor. Let's talk. We've got an athlete here that's going to be experiencing it. So, is the heat going to play a factor, Paula?
I think it will be hot, but I don't think it'll affect the results. I think by the time the men are finishing the race is before the heat of the day here, and St. George, like afternoon, is so hot, but morning you still get like the crisp deserty air. So I certainly haven't done any heat training, and I'm surprised that it's going to be as hot as it is, but I don't think it'll affect these guys that are so fit, and a lot of them probably heat train for Texas, and
I feel like, I could be wrong, I feel like that there's so many nutrition products and so many educational videos now on, like, if you're a pro athlete and you're struggling at 70.3 and you're not able to make it through it due to nutrition, it's not good. I mean, I understand an Ironman, you got an 8-hour day, but in a 4-hour event, it's like there's so much high quality nutrition products and all that now that you're able to purchase it. So I don't know. Does that make sense, Paula?
Yeah, it comes down to pacing a little too. If it's that hot, like
Yeah.
you saw in Singapore.
I mean, we've seen
And you're burning more.
Taylor Knibb do like Oceanside and be like, oh, I forgot to take gels on the run. And I'm like, oh, wow, you just beat the rest of the field by 10 minutes. That's a little weird. So I feel like that nutrition really comes. So
Yeah.
if you're an amateur athlete and you're out there, if you're going to be around there 4 hours, maybe you don't need to worry. If you're going to be over that, definitely stay hydrated because it's going to be hot.
For the age groupers, though, it's going to be a big factor. Sean, for you and me, we got to be on.
Sean, I don't know how long you'll be out there. Kyle, 6 hours. You better stay hydrated.
Yeah. Me and Doug.
We got one more question.
Yeah, I feel wetsuits always bring bigger packs. For the men, I would say we see a pretty big pack. I don't know who all's racing here. When you come out of San Hollow, you climb this massive hill, and I love seeing that at the start of races because it just really blows the race apart, and that's what it's like at Nice every year. So,
Go ahead.
Yep, we got one back here.
Yeah, so I just had a chance to talk to Sam Long, and he said if he wins on Saturday, then he's the king of North America and the king of St. George.
wow.
All right,
I don't feel about that.
we just got to we're going to repeat your statement. It wasn't a question, but we had an audience member that had an encounter with Sam Long, and he said if Sam said if he wins on Saturday, he's the king of North America and the king of St. George. I mean, that's
fair.
I agree. Yes,
It's
I
North
mean,
American.
when
I don't think so. The problem is,
for 25. Yes, for the year. It's a year. This is a yes. This is a.
He will be the king until the race leaves here. But there was a guy when they had a world championship here, and he was so confident. He went up and he saw the St. George sign, and he said, "This will be called St. Gustav by the time I leave here." So he walked away. Did he walk away victorious, or did he not even? No, I think he pulled out on the run
that year. Yeah.
Yeah. So hope we'll
Brad?
see.
I got two.
Yep.
Paula, how much time are you giving Kyle on Saturday, and how much time are you giving Nick? And then my second one is, how much time is Magnus going to put into the Lionel of the descent, Snow Canyon, and the town?
Paula, I'm going to let you answer all three of those. So the question from Brad Williams was ultimately what's the handicap going to be from Paula to Kyle and then Paula to Nick?
Yeah.
And then what's the differential going to be for the descent between Magnus and Lionel?
And
Well-
Paula, before you answer, I just saw Magnus's crank, and I'm pretty sure he just ripped a rim off of a vehicle and put it on his bike. It was like
A one by.
a one by,
It's
yeah.
really steep at the top.
Oh, I was just like,
No, like
oh
going up. I
my
hope you can make it up.
God.
I want to just share one little thing because I said to Magnus, I said, what gear are you using for St. George? And he goes, oh yes, I use a 60-34. It's maybe a little steep, but it will be okay.
He'll make it up.
I'm like, if you go put a 60 chainring on your bike with a 34 in the back and try and ride up Snow Canyon, I mean, Kyle, think about that.
no, I don't even want to think about it.
All right, Paula, answer. What do
Okay,
you
so
think?
I invited Kyle to ride with me this morning just to boost my confidence.
And it worked.
And he looked like so dialed. He had the Ventum, he had the wind kit, he had like a feed helmet on. And I was like, go easy, go. I was leading the pack of Eric and Kyle and me. Under 200 watts, like go easy, Kyle's with us, don't drop Kyle. We look back at Snow Canyon, he's like gone. So I think I'm gonna beat him by at least 2 hours.
2 hours.
That was the exact number I had.
Yeah.
Give me a high five. That was great. That was what
But
I had.
honestly, I'm really proud of him for doing it. I think he works full time. This is not his full time thing, this podcast.
So does Justin Reale.
No, I'm just kidding, Kyle. I think you're going to go under 6 hours, so maybe I'll beat you by 90 minutes.
I hope so.
Nick, I think I'll beat him by 40. He's another guy
That's what I
that is
told
on a
Nick.
podcast. And to answer your question about descending, it's hard to put a lot of time on a descent, right? Like maybe 30 seconds? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other
We
questions?
have one right here. And I got to shout you out. You're wearing the original
yes, I
Talbot
know the
Cox
hat.
media hat right there.
That was like he.
People
no,
keep trying to say it's a Tesla hat, and that's
no, no,
a
no.
Talbot Cox
No,
media
no, but
hat.
I got it. When
I'm getting a little
Talbot
pissed off about this.
When Talbot came out with that logo, Lionel goes, "Oh God." He's like, this logo is like Fredissimo and Tesla had a baby, and then it's like, and now it's this Talbot logo.
I want one of those hats. I don't even know where my original one went, so I
He's
love
not giving it to you.
Sorry, what was your
I know,
what was
I
the
know.
question?
What was the question?
I have a couple. Is Magnus going to use a dropper post?
Magnus will not be using a dropper post.
He decided that was a bad idea.
Okay. And then the second one, I think Sam's been haunted by bike penalties twice maybe on this course. Will we see any bike penalties that are going to impact the top?
Great question. Will we see any bike penalties? You would think on this course, given the nature of it, it would be more challenging to do. But I think the game. I still think the penalty that Sam Long got here. I still think Jackson purposely was accelerating
was a
on him. I
move.
mean,
Yeah,
you know,
that was a
to do that. So I think
I don't know if that was handed out in that moment.
there's some.
Yeah, Jordan Rapp invented that move.
Yeah. So what do we?
Rap. What is-
Yeah, sure, we could see a penalty here, but I don't.
Question real quick. Have we seen a penalty all year? I don't know that we've seen a penalty.
Jacob Burtwhistle got a
Yeah,
penalty.
that's the one penalty I think we've seen all year.
I would ask Paula what it's like in the pack dynamics, but she doesn't ride in packs. She's off the front, so.
No, I think the men's racing is different because the packs just are bigger and
Yeah.
there's more men, there's more bodies around. And with Race Ranger, the razor's edge of where you can be is very obvious, but it is really easy to drift into the red, especially on a course like this where you're going from a downhill to an uphill. So it really depends on the refs' calls and how, reading the situation, whether or not they're going to give penalties for those times where it bunches together, because that happens a lot here. It's not just a flat course where it stays spaced equally.
And I know an interesting one will be Snow Canyon. I wish we could have incredible coverage there, overhead drone shots of the race dynamics. I will say that the officials do a really good job at letting the athletes race instead of just trying to nitpick everything. But there is a lot of athletes that will go out hot or go up for a pass, and then they kind of fall back, and it's pretty wild. And I feel like the athletes aren't trying to take an advantage. If they don't think that they are, then they won't give them a penalty. But I hope that anyone who they believe is taking advantage will get a penalty. And did you have another one? That was it. Yeah, nice.
Any other questions?
Couple more questions? Go for it, Soren.
Ditlev.
Magnus.
Right. I mean, who the question?
2 minutes. A minute.
I was gonna say 3:15.
3 minutes. No way.
I
Not a
we're not. I mean,
chance.
I don't know where we're timing it to. Where do you think we should time it to? Like the second place person?
Yeah.
Because I think he comes. I think he comes in with. I think he comes in with Justin Reale. I really do. I think Justin's gonna be walking somewhere on the half
3
marathon.
minutes.
All due respect.
3 minutes and Lionel wins, I would say.
Yeah. I think that we saw in Oceanside. Like I was on the trainer that entire time, and when I saw 2:47, I was like, golly, I'm like fifth is gonna be really tough. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, wow, he's gonna. I mean, after the half, we were like, okay, he's just gonna win now. That this is done.
Yeah.
So I think if it's 3 minutes, I think whoever comes first off the bike is running. Is running nervous.
Yeah.
Fair?
And I out at the finish too, I clapped his hand and hugged him, and I was like, how'd that feel? And he was like, oh, I had so much blanking more in me. I was ready for it. And I was like, oh, sheesh.
We got probably time for one or two more questions.
It seems like there's several women that are just racing for Kona instead of the Pro Series compared to the men. What do you guys think?
I think
Repeat the question.
She asked that it seems like that there's a lot of women in the field that are just racing, or I guess probably in general this year, or just the field, are racing really just for Kona this year and don't really care about. Can I lead it? Yeah, hit it.
I think what happened is Laura Phillip really led by example last year, and the women are. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the women are looking at that as an example and going, okay, that's how she dominated last year, by being really precise in her plan and sticking to it. And I think that that's gathered some momentum with her probably competitors and saying, okay, I'm actually going to follow the lead a little bit here and just be really precise in my plan and not try and be a jack of all trades, master of none. Am I on to something?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think winning the Pro Series is an amazing achievement, but ultimately everybody wants to win Kona. And especially for the women, they didn't have Kona last year, so maybe just going a little all in on.
I'll push back. I think Ironman did the right thing. I think that when Nice rolls around, it's the Nice World Championship. It's just as prestigious as the St. George World Championship. It's not Kona, and this is the Kona year for females, and you can see it from everything from marketing dollars and sponsorship spend to race signups to everything. Everything in this sport points to the Ironman World Championship in Kailua Kona, and I think that there was a lot of flack on the moved back to the single-day event, but they just followed the statistics, and everyone wants to win Kona, and I think that when it goes even back to a single-day event next year for both male and female, you'll see the exact same thing, less focus on the series, more focus on Kona.
Let's do one more question, and then Talbot will close us out. Red shirt.
Since we're speaking of Kona and the females, so obviously there's been so much flack about how are we growing the sport with female athletes in Ironman. So, and the Women for Tri, that it was apparently a failure and it's really not growing the Ironman distance female sport. So, what is the direction? And no offense, fellas, but I'd rather Paula answer.
Paula.
I want to take a shot at it when you're done.
I don't want to be controversial, honestly. I think it's great that it's going back to Kona. I think the Ironman World Championship should be hard to qualify for. They couldn't get enough women to go to Nice, and I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad.
How do we grow it? Do you think it grows from the bottom, like Sprint Olympic, like comes up that way, or you think that it's like it's bigger than that? I mean, if you're trying to motivate someone from Canada, a young Paula Findlay, like how do you motivate them to go there?
Well, I think if you want to listen to that Triathlon Life podcast, we do a lot of beginner-friendly, women-oriented stuff. So as a female in the sport, that is a priority of mine, is like motivating women to do it. And I personally see it through the questions we get on our podcast and the fans of TTL. So.
And it's a great question, and it's one of the reasons why this last week we brought Steph Clutterbuck on,
yes,
and also plan to bring on more females on the podcast to talk.
That's why I came on this, so there was some female.
Yeah. So we don't want to be of course, as I would say males, we're biased to it. We don't look at it as much. Mark can speak to it more as his wife is racing in the professional field. Pat can also speak to it as his wife kind of won a gold medal in the Olympics.
Only kind of.
I can't speak to it at all. Kyle can't at all either.
No,
but we do plan to bring more females on that are in the Ironman distance to speak to that. So great question.
I'm going to just close on that. And I think the one thing that we kind of unlocked, that Steph Clutterbuck really unlocked it with our podcast on Sunday, was saying, okay, with these, whether it's 2,500 or 3,000 spots at Kona, is there a world where we could say, okay, we're going to really, can we give a little growth to the 18 to 35 category for the women and say, hey, whatever the percentage is, we're going to hit this a little bit harder, and we're going to give that group more entries because we need that ultimately to trickle down into other more opportunities in a race like this to qualify for 70.3 Worlds, or then ultimately another at an Ironman distance race. So I think for me that's the answer, and to say, look, like we're actually going to just open it up in those younger categories, because that's where then Ironman gets an entry for, even if it's a 27-year-old age group female, they can say, hey, look, we could capture that entry from Jennifer, Rachel, whatever, for the next 30 years. And that's who we want to serve. And I think
Right? Like you have to have a bench because everybody's going to be aging out.
Yeah.
Yes.
yes, yes.
Where these triathlons are going away because the older generation, like they're aging out.
Yep.
They're going out.
Yeah.
So, you have triathlons, you need to fill that bench.
Yep. Okay, before we close, show of hands. How many people are racing on Saturday? Wow, that's great. Thank you
Awesome.
guys for
Thank you
spending
for
your
coming
day
in.
with us. Good luck. Good luck. Oh, yeah, there you go, racing. So, thank you guys for coming. Thank you to Ventum for coming out and providing the refreshments for everyone. They have a couple bikes up here. Soren, professional athlete, was gracious enough from the Octagon team to put his bike up here as well. He's got a really cool front end, so check that out.
Is Chelsea's bike here?
I don't believe so.
Oh.
Yeah. So, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it, and have a good race on Saturday.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thanks for coming, everyone.